Our next speaker is Brooke Mumbi, a junior here at Middlebury College, double majoring in political science and economics. Originally from Kikuyu, Kenya, Brooke is interested in how global events influence financial decision-making. She speaks Swahili and Gikūyū and is currently learning Spanish. On campus, she works at the Q Center, the bookstore, and serves on our Res Life team. Please join me in welcoming Brooke Mumbi.
Wadia, my mom says, make sure you wear your sweater before you go get the milk and the newspaper this morning. It's quite chilly outside. Ah, Mom, can't you see the sun that is outside? It's such a beautiful day to be alive. And since when do I let people tell me what to wear? I say, as I confidently walk out of the door. Well, that becomes a really bad idea from the moment I step outside the gate. The cold wind hits me like a slap from Mother Nature. It's as if it's in sync with my mom to send me a message to listen. When I get back to the house, my eyes are teary and my pride is frostbitten. You see, I told you so, says my mom as she grabs a newspaper to read the day's headline. That was one of the many instances in life where stubbornness took the wheel and drove me straight into a ditch. Growing up, I was that girl. I was a very stubborn kid. If there was an Olympic sport for being headstrong, little me would have swept that podium clean. Gold, silver, bronze. Stubbornness was my superpower. I made decisions based on my convictions, no questions asked, no approval needed. I did my thing. But my headstrong nature wasn't always welcomed, especially in a world defined by strict norms around gender and modesty. I found myself constantly stepped into the expectations of society. And so it became increasingly clear that the world around me demanded conformity, yet my heart yearned for something even bigger, authenticity. And so I began swimming against the current, challenging norms and ideas and refusing to settle for surface level answers. In retrospect, I became a Gen Z long before Gen Z was ever a cultural phenomenon. And so today, allow me to take you on a journey through these waters, to the story of defiance, growth, and learning to float, even when the currents feel far too big to navigate. At the old age of 8, I decided to break the news to my mom that I was leaving the Presbyterian Church to join the Church of God. It was a very conservative sect, Christian, but I was completely drawn to it. My mom felt I was too young to be making big decisions around faith. Her sister, my Auntie Phyllis, wasn't your typical auntie. When she was young, she got an infection that left her with vision in only one eye. But let me tell you one thing, she's so clearer than most of us with two. She had a high pitch, and anytime she wanted to make a point, it would even go higher. And she would place her hands on her hips, give you that piercing look, and pour wisdom. She found humor in everything, and her heart was so big, so warm, that I couldn't help but fall in love with every part of her. And I miss her till date, and I hope she continues to rest in peace. Her children, my cousins, were very close in age. We played together, worshipped, we did chores. The Church of God was on their compound, and so I found myself going to service more often. The sense of community there, it spoke to me, the energy, the instruments, particularly the tambourine. I loved it. But let's be real. The fashion was such an adjustment, the long pleated skirts and dresses and head wraps. It didn't feel like me. I was a kid who just liked to wear tank tops and jeans, and here I was being told that had to be a part of my identity. Of course, I wasn't perfect. Every once in a while, I'd sneak out in my high-waist jeans and tank tops, just like that, until I was busted by none other than, yeah, you guessed right, my Auntie Phyllis herself. So picture this, me walking down sunny Zambezi town thinking I'm incognito only to spot her in a distance. The look on her face, priceless. The embarrassment I felt, even more priceless. I don't know where you, she said, asking who I was with a very disappointed look. I mean, yes, no, I can explain, I stammered as she walked away, leaving me there reflecting on who I actually was. From that day henceforth, I made a choice, and I decided to just embrace this new way of dressing. My love for church, it ran so deep, and I wanted to be a part of it completely without feeling like I was compromising myself. I never had a thing for the dresses, but skirts though, they became my canvas. And so I started experimenting with different things, my head wraps, my shoes, everything, I matched them. There was something empowering about this transformation. It was as if I was stepping into a role that was very new but also deeply familiar. I was testing the waters, swimming against the current in my very own way, and carving my identity in this new church. After that came high school, and with it, a challenge that nothing in this world could have ever prepared me for. I'd worked so hard to get into the Mary Hill Girls High School, a Catholic national school in Kenya, only to get there and be told that my head wrap wasn't allowed. For the past 5 years, it had become such a huge part of my identity, my spiritual armor. Without it, I felt naked, exposed, and deeply conflicted and incomplete. These were very choppy waters, unfamiliar and unsettling. I wanted nothing to do with navigating them. All I craved for was the currents that I had swum in, the ones I was used to. And then there was my hair. You know, my hair routine had always been so easy, just wash, comb, cover. And now I had to worry about keeping my hair presentable enough for the prefects, and my afro wasn't very good at following the rules. So every night I'd go back to my dorm and cover my head to find myself, because every time I walked with my head uncovered, I felt like I was losing myself. In this painful journey, something beautiful moved. I started developing a personal relationship with God and understanding who He was to me, separate from the community that I had built. Life had thrown me into the deep end, leaving me with two options: to swim or to risk being swept away. And so I swam. After that, a very incredible opportunity came my way, an acceptance letter to United World College, Southeast Asia in Singapore. Part of me wanted to go and chase this big dream, but another part of me wanted to stay back home in Kenya and cling to the familiar. I wasn't entirely sure I was big for another big change, especially after the turbulence of Maryhill. But with my resolve bigger than my fear, I decided to go test the waters, and at the age of 18, with my mask on my face, I boarded that Emirates flight to Singapore. When I got to Singapore, it was late at night, but the humidity was striking. I got in the van and I headed to quarantine. It was a very fancy hotel room, and being there, being an introvert, I was like, I will love this, I'll enjoy this, but it was quite isolating. And the only thing that kept me sane was seeing a woman next door swimming every morning. I craved her freedom. Then quarantine ended and I experienced my first real Singaporean afternoon. I was boiling, burning, and sweating all at once. I had never experienced a climate so humid, so relentless. I wanted to go back to the AC room. It was in this new context, however, that I first met my host mom, Nikki, whose love for the water was as boundless as her Aussie spirit. To her, water wasn't just something to swim in, it was joy and adventure all rolled into one. She did not just love the water, she was the water, fluid, fearless, and always ready to dive in headfirst. I could teach you, she said one day over dinner. Learning how to swim had always been a desire of mine, and here it was being offered to me on this silver platter, but instead of joy, all I felt was great fear and sadness. Women in my church were not allowed to swim because swimsuits were considered indecent, and a woman revealing her form, unacceptable. Yet, as our conversations deepened, so did my curiosity. I found myself in random websites looking for Muslim swimwear because all I wanted was full coverage. Sometimes I'd go to the pool by the evening, sit there by the deck chairs observing people as they swam, and once in a while, I'd muster the courage, go dip my toes, mesmerized by the ripples I created. I was testing the waters, literally and figuratively. When my swimsuit arrived, my heart was racing and I held it in my hands and I told Nikki, I am ready. The first day I walked into a pool, I had two fears. My first one, existential, I will die. The second one, also existential, but far beyond this realm, I will die a sinner, a corpse in indecency. But Nikki was there, steady and reassuring, and she held my hand and she told me, Brooke, the first lesson I will teach you is how to float. In case of an accident, you want to stay afloat, because if you can't be seen, then you can be saved. Her words became a lifeline, pulling me from the edge of my fears, and after a battle between trust and terror, I finally felt it, the fragile surface of water. It held me, and there I was, floating. And on that afternoon, I felt free. In the days that followed, I continued building my skills, and it wasn't easy. There are days I'd roll over in the pool, struggling to find my footing. And the day water got into my nose, shot up, and it was burning, I almost gave up altogether. I walked out of the pool, sat by the deck chairs, drenched, contemplating. And then it clicked. Swimming against the current wasn't just about resistance. It was about facing fear head-on and refusing to let it steer my own course. So I got back in the pool, and I kept building my skills. And today, I can navigate bodies of water easily. Well, not the ocean, but you kind of get my point, though. After that, I started questioning the doctrines that had shaped so much of my identity. Life hadn't tossed me into a situation that required adaptation. Rather, I was digging deep to know who I was. And so I started experimenting with different ways of dressing, shorts, pants, name them trousers. Yet the hardest part was letting go of my head wrap. It felt like an irreversible leap, something that I wasn't sure I was ready to do. But then last February, I decided to let it go, and it is one of the hardest choices that I have ever made. But I held on to my brother's words. He said, sis, I'm with you. You know, wherever this journey takes you, I'm always a call away. It's me and you against this world. And so I started experimenting with different hairstyles, braids, twists, leaving my hair out. And with every new look, I saw her more clearly, the woman I was becoming, unrestrained and unapologetically her. And I have to admit, that woman I love. I am yet to know where I stand between the battle of cover versus uncover, but I stand in the truth of knowing that I can always redefine what my identity truly means. On days like today, however, I still cover my hair, not out of obligation, but personal choice. My decision reflects a sometimes painful and uncomfortable journey of self-discovery rather than entirely walking away. Amidst all these experiences, I have discovered something profound. Swimming against the current isn't always the same. Sometimes it is that stubborn determination to carve your own identity, test the waters, and discover who you are. Other times it is life pushing you into the deep end, leaving you with two options, to swim or to risk being swept away. But whether it's out of choice or circumstance, it is all part of a journey of self-discovery. Vulnerability holds immense power, beckoning us into the depths of self-exploration. And just like water, it can be soft and yielding, yet powerful enough to cut through stone. As we continue our journeys, let us remember it is important and encouraged and even necessary to test the waters, swim against the current, and discover who you are. As we say it in Swahili, maji usiyoyafika hujui wingi wake, which means you can never know the depths of the waters that you've never been to. It is a proverb that challenges us to learn from experience and not just observation and hearsay. Life is a continuous journey of learning, failing, unlearning, and relearning. What challenges will you embrace? What currents will you swim against? Well, those answers lie within you, waiting to be uncovered. My name is Mumbi Brooke Mumbi, and my, oh my, what a pleasure it has been to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brooke. I have to say, I think one of the best traditions of TEDxMiddlebury is having a student speaker, so we are so grateful to have you. Does anybody from the audience want to share any reflection or thoughts that they have on Brooke's talk? Yeah.
Honestly, I have nothing specific to say, but the way that you were vulnerable with us and the way that you delivered that speech was so touching and inspiring. I am very, very, very proud. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
I want to say I'm very, very proud of Brooke for sharing this story with us. I've been friends with her since Singapore, and I've seen the work and all the courage it has taken her to get to where she is now. And the fact that she's sharing this story with us is very encouraging, because we might not be stuck in our way of dressing or our beliefs, but we might be stuck doing something that we know we are trying to get out of, and that's really encouraging to try our best and also challenge the beliefs that we've maybe had since childhood or anything like that. So thank you so much, Brooke, and I'm very, very proud of you for this. Thank you.
Thanks, Brooke. I learned something from Nikki from you today, which is if you can't be seen, you can't be saved. So that means our job to save ourselves is to make sure we are seen. And that's the work that you've done. So, and I have to do too. Thank you.
Such great reflections. Thank you so much.